Awesome. We are here. We are back to our fall extravaganza. It has been so incredible the past week and a half that we've been doing this. So many amazing conversations and topics brought to you by such different and diverse leaders and speakers and influencers. And really, we created this this group, this extravaganza, as an opportunity to give back and to provide you connections with people with different expertises and passion and interest, and hopefully meet you where you are to help take you where you know you're meant to be. So welcome to the Fall Extravaganza group. Welcome to those of you who are watching live. Welcome to those of you who are watching on the replay. I hold the intention that whenever you catch this is the right moment for you. And just as a reminder, for those of you who are watching this sooner than later, we are doing a bonus session on next Monday to do giveaway. We have prizes we want to give away, have some really cool things that we have lined up for you. I'll do a little riffing or presentation to kind of bring this whole extravaganza together. So if you're available, please join us. Hold on, let me look at the date for next Monday. Monday, the 27th. The time is being finalized. It'll either be 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock p.m. PSD, but please come join us there. Hello, David. When you guys log on, please say hi so we know that you're here. We can see both in the Zoom, we can see you in the face group. So just let us know and we will say hello to you guys. All right. I am so excited to introduce to you to this fabulous, this gorgeous, this brilliant, this super genius woman, Miss Carlene Berg. What I love about her is she embodies so much of what I think a lot of us women want. I think even what a lot of men want, but maybe have some hesitations or aren't sure or have fears, right? To own who you are, own what you have, own your hotness, be hot, right? And so when we were talking about her session, she's really good about unlocking the hot girl magic within you, which is why this session is called Hot Girl Magic. And so I'm going to bring her up and have her kind of just speak on what is on her heart. If you guys have questions, please let us know in the chat below, whether in Facebook or on Zoom, so we can ask her, pick her brain, ask her about how she does what she does, what got her where she is. Like, this is a safe and open forum for you to participate. So with that, Miss Carlene, thank you so much for being here. I am so honored to have you, and I'm so excited to hear what you have for all of us today.
Thank you so much, Nicole. And that was a beautiful welcome. Thank you. Thank you. And what I would love to do is just to all take a minute to really, with gratitude, to thank you for putting this beautiful event together for us. It's very, very, very meaningful. And I love your beautiful heart and everything about you. So thank you. So if we all want to write in the comments or in the, if you guys are live or something, just really thanking Nicole for putting this all together. You are amazing. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And also what I love to do for myself, every day, and just throughout my sessions with my clients and everything, is to first start with gratitude, a moment of gratitude, and then to also set the intention. I find that it's just so important, throughout our lives, it can go so fast, right? But if we take that moment in the morning to really good gratitude for what we already have, we will bring that much more magic into our life, which is part of this whole thing is magic, right? So, Nicole, do you have an intention also that you want to share for today?
I love this. Yeah, I'm really holding the intention that those who tune into this, whether live or on the replay, something is set free inside of them. So I'm hoping we all experience a new level of freedom after your session.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that. That's so beautiful. So I wrote down my intention ahead of time too. And my intention is that everybody gets exactly what they need and even more. I always love to set that as the intention, right? Because that's just really important to me. And then also that everybody that's here right now and everybody that catches the replay, that they just come with very loving ears to the conversation, loving ears, an open heart and an open mind. And really with the intention of deciding to bring the very best of themselves to this conversation and every conversation, right? And that's how I decided to live my life, was with loving ears, open heart, open mind, and then to just bring the best of myself to every conversation. And from there, my life just started to get more and more and more magical. So that's been really special for me.
Can you expand on that? What do you mean by yeah, can you share what you were like before versus how you are now? And like, what was that shift and what does that look like for you on a more practical level?
Absolutely. I would love to. Yes, so my coaster. So, what it looks like on a practical level, and I wasn't sure if I was going to share this story or not, but because I feel like really safe in this space right now, I will, right? So for those of you who don't know me or know my background, when I was 26 years old, I gave birth to the most amazing, beautiful baby. He was so perfect and healthy, 9 pounds, 13 ounces, like amazing, right? And then what happened is within less than 2 months, he actually passed away while someone else was watching him, right? And going through such a horrible loss at such a young age and like losing the person that really meant the most to you, right? Like he meant more than anything in the world to me at that time. Just like it totally shifted my perspective of life, right? And for a while I went into like a deep depression, right? I just couldn't believe, like, oh my gosh, why, right? Why, God, why? And then I remember doing a Google search, and like I wanted some sort of evidence that someone had gone through such like a horrible loss and came out even better on the other side, right, than ever before. So I was Googling like late nights because I could not sleep after everything, after losing him, right? And I found out that Oprah Winfrey, actually, she had a baby boy and she like didn't have him for very long and he passed away. And then I looked at her and like the impact that she's been able to create in the world. So for me in that moment, and you can talk, Nicole,
That gave
for
me goosebumps.
right? Yeah.
That's all. That's just want to say. I was gonna write that in the chat. I was like, I got goosebumps when you said that.
Yes.
So you read this story, you see that she had a similar loss, you see her to go on to have this huge impact, and then what happened?
Yes. So it finally gave me evidence and hope that I wasn't going to be a hot like mess forever, right? Because I'm like, oh my gosh, like what does this mean for my future, right? Like what does this like I attach so much meaning behind it. But instead, when I decided that I could change it to like a more powerful meaning and how many lives I could impact and like what I could do for people, like how she's done, it just really gave me some hope. So I just love that we all like in this space and stuff, like we really set the example for people, like by leading ourselves through different situations to show others that it's possible for them as well.
First, thank you for sharing that because I know that's very vulnerable and intimate and personal. And I I just feel very honored that you would share that here. And that's a privilege for everyone here listening. So thank you, Carlene. And you know what else is so fascinating about that is uh, I'm gonna turn this into a question. When people look at you, Carlene, do people ever treat you with an assumption of you've had it easy? You've never faced hard times.
Absolutely. All the time. Yeah.
What do you do in that situation, knowing that you have faced some of the hardest times that they don't even know about?
Right. I just like send them like so much love. And then if they want to get to know me more in my story, then I'll be happy to share with them like during like throughout time. But yeah, like a lot of times people like look at me and be like, oh, it was so easy for her. And it also reminds me that it's so easy to look at anybody, right? And think like, oh, things were easy for them. But really, we never know someone's story until we take the time to like listen. And it's so easy to judge. And that's kind of like has been something that I continue to work on is like this fear of being like judged and then like being like not loved because of the judgment, where people could only know my heart and soul, that they would just like want to know so much more. And it would just be like such a beautiful exchange for them.
I love that because I think you're right. I think we all, it's just our natural human instinct to just assume things about someone. I wouldn't necessarily say judge. I think we assume like, oh, I can look at you and I have a whole story about you already, or I can look at him. I have a whole story about him. Like even this weekend when I was at a burlesque show, one of my favorite things to do is actually to make up stories about people around me. Like when I see couples on a date, I'm like, is that their first date? Or is this like their 10th date? Like, are they serious? Like it's fun, it's playful, it's imaginative. But there's also the downside of that is we can end up boxing people in and do it in a way where where it's not just playful, it's definitive. I can tell based on looking at Carlene, she's probably never had a hard day in her life. I can tell based on looking at him, he's a total douche or whatever. We like end up assuming slash judging when we honestly have no idea. We have no idea what someone has gone through. We have no idea what they have lived through. We have no idea what people have experienced. And this is why I will say to people, my heart is always that you would lean in with curiosity rather than pull back from judgment. Can we lean in, especially to the ones that you think you are so certain about? You're so certain that you know exactly who this person is and what they are all about. But have you even had a real conversation with them? Have you been, because what I could see, Carlene, is someone's like, yeah, I've talked to Carlene. Then my next question would be, are you a safe person for her to be her full self, to tell the fullness of her truth? Because as you just said at the beginning of this, you're like, I wasn't planning on sharing this. There are parts we keep close to our hearts that very, very few are privileged to ever learn about ourselves. And that isn't just on us, that's also dependent on the other person in the room. Like, are you a safe person for me to share one of the most vulnerable parts of my life? And if not, you cannot say you know someone fully. Just because you know someone, they talk to you, they hang out with you, we hold a lot of cards close to our chest. Everyone does. And are you the kind of person where it's safe to come out to with some of our most personal truths? So I love that reminder of lean in with curiosity rather than pull back out of judgment. And we honestly have no idea what anyone's lived through.
Yeah.
So you went through this horrible event, this traumatic event. And then like I would assume you'd want to shut down forever, right? Because like you can't imagine life without this precious baby of yours and all that comes with that. You see this truth about Oprah, and it sounds like you start to open your heart back up again. Can you share a little bit more like what that looks like for you in real time?
Absolutely. So one day I just like woke up and I'm like, I can either like choose to like live happy or I can choose to be sad. Like I can choose to be happy or sad. Like I really realized that it was going to be a choice and I could live and be like depressed every day or I could choose happiness. And then I just went on a discovery from there of like what that really looked like. And from there, like more magical experiences started to really happen for me.
I love that you said it was a choice, right?
Mm.
Because I think sometimes we just want life to make it that way. But so much of it is a choice. Like I can choose, like we say in my coaching world, to get better or to get bitter. And I'm going to choose to get better rather than bitter. Someone wrote in the comments here in Facebook, you're getting a ton of comments. Let me just read them first.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you for
Yes.
tuning in.
Thank you for the reminder, Carlene. Loving hearts, loving ears, open heart, open mind. Someone else wrote loving heart, open mind, gold. This comment, I would love for us to unpack a little bit. I love that you said this, Sean. He said, pretty privilege is so superficial. So I would love to hear your thoughts on, have you heard of pretty privilege? Do you believe it exists? I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
So it's so fascinating because I was actually on a date the other night with a guy and he is a surgeon. And he was actually telling me that sometimes he would actually not hire, or always he would not hire a woman if they were hot, right? So it can actually work like the other way too. And he went into detail about why that was. So I think some things just like exist out there, but it's like, what do we want to do with that information?
Do you have an example of when someone has used pretty privilege against you? And then an example when pretty privilege got you something?
Yeah, so pretty privilege, honestly, it gets me stuff like all the time. Like it really, really, really does. And part of it though is a hot energy, and that's the energy that like hot is an energy, right? So if we can step into that, we can all be our hottest selves. Like I really, really, really believe that. So, and then as far as like before I used to work someplace and then the one guy he asked the other guy, he's like, why did you hire her? Why did you? He's like, she's just like too hot for here. And he would like when his wife would come in, they would give me this big jacket to put over myself because like they didn't want her to like see my body or something. It was just like it's just very, very fascinating. So I feel like it works both ways. But as far as like just like even people will give me stuff and they'll be like, oh, this is for you because you're like pretty or because you're hot or something. Like it happens often. However, okay, so this also happened. I was living in Malibu and I really wanted to like rent out this place. Like it was perfect. It was right across the street from the ocean, amazing. And he's like, I would love to rent to you, Carlene, but I can't. He's like, you're just too hot. I'm like, what? What do you mean? Like, how is that? Are you serious? I was so offended. He's like, yeah, he's like, my girlfriend. He's like, she just like won't, she just won't like want that. And I just like set the intention and I'm like, okay, like if anything changes or if you guys break up, please let me know. Right. And I held the vision that like I was gonna still move in there. And like within less than 2 weeks, he messaged me. He's like, hey Carlene, we broke up. You can totally move in. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I held the vision of faith, right? I didn't get upset about like the whole thing. Like, I mean, I was disappointed, obviously, but I wasn't like rude about it. And then we got to like move in there. And he was actually a karate instructor. So my son got like free karate lessons for like as long as we want to go, and just like a really special connection. And yeah, super cool.
I love that. Like, I love that you talked about how pretty privilege is a double-edged sword, right? Because it does exist. It is real. I can acknowledge that too. Like, if you're pretty or handsome or good looking, people will treat you differently in a good way. But I'll talk about positive. People treat you better. People assume nice things about you. They assume you're a good person. They assume you're kind. Like, people go out of their way for you. They'll give you gifts. Like, this is very real. The flip side is also just as real. So just like you shared, Carlene, where it's like, no, I can't give you this job or let you rent this place. People will think something of me if I let you be occupy this position, occupy this place. Like, so there's used against you, or a door is closed on you because you're hot or you're not taken seriously. Someone like you can't have brains. You're just all body, right? And so I've gotten flack in the past online, like, oh, that's easy for you, Nicole, because you're skinny and you're hot. And yes, there is privilege with that. America is very fat phobic. America has a lot of issues, but they also don't acknowledge the flip side. That I've also had doors closed in my face. I've also had opportunities turned down because of how I look. Right? People say they can't take me seriously, or I'm vain, or whatever. And so like I think like just being aware of this double-edged sword. But what I really loved what you said, and someone even wrote this in the comment, hot is an energy and we can step into it. So when you teach, because you have different programs on like hot girl magic and like becoming like, I can't remember the exact terms, but like a sensual woman and a powerful woman, I think people can assume that it must be based on looks. But
Right.
you say it's based on energy. So can you expand more on that for someone who's listening?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I know like to be true without a shadow of a doubt, like for sure, this is the fact, like hot is an energy, hot is an energy. And because if we look at different people, like before I had this guy, I met him and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, and this sounds horrible to say, but I'm like, who would want to date him? Like, I just do not find him attractive at all, right? And then a couple months later, because we worked together, he ended up being my boyfriend, right? And I thought he was just like the hottest thing in the world. It's like, how does that happen, right? And then I was having a conversation with someone else, maybe it was like a year ago or so, and she was talking about a guy, and I like to just ask this question because it's fun to be like, oh, I'm like, well, is he hot? And she's like, oh my gosh, no, he is not hot at all. Da da da, going off. And then the next thing you know, they're together, a couple, like on, like all out in the open, my hot guy, da, da, and I'm like, whoa, like this is so true. Like hot is an energy, right? And it's like this confidence of just like knowing what it is that you desire and just like going for it, like regardless of what anyone else thinks about it, choosing yourself every day and just like owning it.
I freaking love that. Okay, so give me some tangible things that made someone who is not attractive to you to then you end up dating them and considering them hot. What was it about them that made them hot?
So it was like, it's always, I feel like it's always like their confidence in themselves is just like so hot. And then obviously like I love men who are like super like kind and generous. So there's that. But yeah, so that, but hot is an energy. Being able to have like the conversation with somebody, the communication, the connection, all of it. And so it's something we turn on like in ourselves, like a light switch. Like we just like decide that we're gonna step into our hottest self every day, and we just like do the thing, and then yeah, just like magic.
I love this because it gives hope to everyone. Like hotness is not dependent upon your age, your genetics, your looks. Like you can step into an energy of hotness by, and I love the things that you listed, by your confidence, by your kindness, communication, emotional maturity. Like there's all these factors. Like we were even just talking about this on my OnlyFans earlier. Like we all get old eventually. We all get super wrinkly. Like we are all hot for a season. And then we become old and wrinkly. And so learning to value not only just our hotness or our looks, but also what we bring to the table within ourselves, and knowing that you are the total package. And when you know that and own that and bring that to the table, that is massively attractive. The number one thing that I find attractive, and I'm curious what it is for you, Carlene. When people ask me, Nicole, what's the number one thing you find attractive in another person, and typically in a man? For me, it's confidence.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, sure, I value good looks, but I care more about, like, do you like who you are? Do you know who you are? Do you feel proud of who you are? Do you feel good about who you are? Because if you're confident in who you are and what you bring to the table, that is magnetic to me. What do you find the most attractive in a man?
So magnetic. Yeah, for sure. Confidence is like always number one. It really, 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 really is. It really is. It really is. And I think back on like all my ex-boyfriends and stuff, for sure, that was like that was what it was. And
I
we can
love
all like raise our confidence at any time too, which is super, super amazing.
I love that. Okay, so I'm going to come back to that. I'm going to read a couple comments here, and then I actually want to bring back a question about what would you give as tips for someone to work on their confidence? So you can think about that while I read this. So, David, no worries. I'm glad you're taking care of your mom. You can catch the replay. I'm so glad you're enjoying this event. Austin, I totally agree. He said, regarding pretty privilege, sometimes I feel something similar if we want to call it fat privilege. Like we are judged for being fat versus having fat, etc. That is only because of how we eat and not considering the emotions of it. Totally. I call it skinny privilege. Like in America, we value skinniness, and the bigger you are, the more judgment there is, the more assumptions there are. It's just like, it's so bad. And it's why in our house a few months ago, I bought a bunch of books about fat phobia, because I want my kids to be aware of there is no one right body type. There is as many body types as there's humans existing. But if I don't combat the messaging from society and social media and TV, which is skinny, 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 and anything else on that's bad, my kids are going to inhale that message and then feel this pressure to either try to be a certain way or judge people for not being a certain way. So, Austin, thank you for bringing that point up. And then Sean wrote, by superficial, I mean, it doesn't take into account their backstory, obstacles, or work. When he was talking about the pretty privilege. Yes, Sean, I totally took it as that. It's same for either way. When we assume something about someone who's good looking and we assume something about someone who's not as good looking, it's all at the end of the day an assumption. We don't actually know. So, Carly, when you talk about how confidence is like the number one thing, and it's something we can all work on, this is also what I love. We can't change our genetics. Sure, you can afford plastic surgery if you can afford it, and if that's something you want to do, but I'd say the vast majority of people are not going to do that. But one thing that is accessible to everyone is the ability to work on their confidence. What tips would you give to someone who knows they want to be more confident, and want to know what's the best way to go about that?
I love that. I love that. And I wanted to actually say to Austin too, thank you so much for bringing up that point. That was like really, really amazing. I really love that. And another thing that people actually don't know about me is when I was 13 years old, I was probably about 60 pounds overweight, right? So I was in eighth grade going into high school. And then like one day I just decided that like I was no longer available for the body type that I have, right? Nothing wrong with it at all, but I just didn't like the way that I felt in it anymore. So I just made the decision that I was going to like lose a bunch of weight, start like running around the property because we had a big property at the time. And so I did that and I lost 60 pounds. And what happened for me at like, 13 to 14 is like I saw how differently like the world viewed me. Like I was treated one totally different way. And then all of a sudden I stepped into this completely different reality. And it was just like really, really shocking. So for me, like a great thing for confidence, like tips you can do is to take yourself like back to this time where you felt the most confident and start really figuring out what it was about then when you felt really confident and start doing some of those things again, right? Because we all have a time in our life where we did feel the most confident. And then also focusing on what you do really love about yourself, right? And really, when we focus on what we love, then that expands for us. So finding the thing that you do love about you and just like really taking a moment to like appreciate that. And when you start going to the mirror, make your eyes go to that thing the first time. Like that the first like thing that you do is going to like your own eyes, or and then bring your eyes to, like whatever part of you love. And tapping into like how much you love yourself as a person. Then also going into the mirror. I love like mirror affirmations and everything. And just like, yeah, I just love mirror affirmations.
I love when you said go back to that time when you felt the most confident, because I think sometimes we start where we are, which is I don't feel confident. So we don't
Mhm.
even know where to begin. And so I love the permission to go back, like take a moment to think, when were you the most confident? When did you feel good about yourself? And when you go back to that moment, what was it that helped you feel that way? And to tap into that, just like you were saying, Carlene. Shelly wrote, I can feel all this in my body. I love this. A good witch official on Instagram is a lady with tons of wrinkles, and she comes across with that hot energy. I love that, Austin. Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to check her out. Carlene wrote, I love your question about feeling more confident. Um, Austin said, saw a Joe Dispenza clip last night that said, once you decide something and it clicks, it happens.
Mhm.
Messaging from brain to body, body to brain, just like Carlene said. I love that. And so like you go back to a time when you felt confident, you look at the things that helped you love who you are. And then I love this idea of when you look in the mirror, I think it's everyone's instinct and habit to look in the mirror and look at the first thing you don't like about yourself.
Right.
Right. And we go right to that part of our body and all the judgment comes forth. And instead you're saying, look at the one part you do like give
Yes.
that some time and attention and love and affection and be like, that part I love. Like we want to start there. That is so good.
Yes, and talking to yourself like you're your best friend, because sometimes we'll say such mean things to ourselves, right? Where if our best friend said that to us, we would not want that person around us anymore, right? So how kind and how loving and how gentle can we be with ourselves through the process?
I love that. I remember years ago before I started this work, I was the cruelest to myself. Like I would stub my toe and I would like curse words over myself, like you effing idiot, like so harsh for something so small. But that's just the point where I was in my life, where it was such overreactions to small things. And it was such an attack on who I am. And like you said, I would never say that to a friend. And so I had to start doing just like you said, which like if I would never say that to a friend, what would I say to a friend who stubbed her toe? What was it would I say to a friend who made a mistake? What would I say to a friend who's feeling crappy about herself today? And can I start talking and treating myself that way? That is so good.
That is so good. I love that. I love that. And whenever I do something, I just call it silly. Like I'll just like, oh my gosh, I'm so silly and so funny, and I'll just like seriously like just like laugh it off. And then you just get back into that energy of playfulness again, instead of the energy of like really like beating up on yourself, because that doesn't do any good at all, at all. It's like how playful can we be with ourselves, and like how can we be more of our best friend and our greatest cheerleader every day.
I love that attitude of playfulness because that's actually what I find attractive in someone is when they make a mistake or they mess up or they stub their toe, if they're able to be silly, I'm like, I'm so taken back by it because I'm so used to my old ways of being really critical, being in an environment when I was growing up where people were really critical. And then just that's just kind of people's default response where anger is the first response. If you can be silly and playful, it is so magnetic to me. I'm like, I cannot believe you can laugh that off. I want to be around that person more. So again, speaking of like this hot energy of like this is a very tangible way to work on it. Notice your default reaction to frustrations, to accidents, to mistakes, to small pain like a stub toe or you hit your head. And then can you start moving that meter towards from like so angry and serious to playful and silly? I love that.
It's so good. It's life changing.
Yeah. Find the thing that you love, that you do love about you, and go to your own eyes, and then to that part that you love, mirror work. People are just quoting you. Talk to yourself like you were talking to your best friend. Yes. Sean, I love that view. View yourself like your own best friend. So good. Silly and playfulness, be your greatest cheerleader every day. So freaking good.
Yeah.
Okay, so people can like work on their confidence, people can work on being playful and silly. What else helps people feel hot?
What else helps people feel hot? So just really, really, really falling more and more and more and more in love with you. Like the more you can love yourself, because people love that and they love to be in the presence of someone who loves themselves. Because I feel like that then they can like just by osmosis, it will actually like transfer onto you, and then you'll fall like even more in love with yourself, more turned on with your life.
I love that. Fall more. I'm gonna write that down. Fall more. And I love how many times you said more, like more and more and more, more
Yeah.
and with you. That's so good. I have a question. So like as you were working on like your hot energy and like really owning it, embodying it, exuding it, what hesitations came up for you? Like were you perceived, were you afraid of being perceived as superficial? Were you afraid of being misunderstood because like, oh, you're so vain and all you care about is how you look? Like what, as you stepped into hot girl energy, what fears and hesitations came up for you? And then what was your process for moving through those?
I love that. That's such a beautiful question. So for me, it was just always that I like, especially whenever I would get like in my like the super hottest, then people would always and like it happens. They'll think that like I'm like they'll have different labels for me. And before I didn't like that like really hit a different way than it does now. Now I learned to take people's like insults and flip them into a compliment, right? And that has truly been like life changing because I would get called like one sort of name and then somebody else would be like, well, actually, I know you're not that, but if you were, like, look at all the benefits. And I'm like, oh wow. So it's been like it was definitely a shift and something that I worked on a lot with like a mastermind I was in a couple of years ago too. And it's just really like owning who I am has been the process of doing that. Like, okay, maybe this person might think this about me, but really at the end of the day, people are going to think things about you anyways. And whatever we're concerned about that they might think about someday, they're probably already thinking anyways. So we might as well just like live our best lives, right? And be all of us now.
I freaking love that. Okay, before I want to go deeper, I want to read some comments here. I've noticed some of my shadows are decreasing as I create playfulness each day. I love that. I feel like we can take so much confidence from kids. I'm astounded by how self-assured my nephews are. They find something they love and are good at it and can't help but show it off. Yes, I love the freedom and the audacity of children. It's like, I know I'm good at this, and everyone, you should see this. Like they flaunt it freely and we affirm them up for it most of the time as children, right? And then something switches as we get older where it's like once you start flaunting your hot energy or your confidence or your sensuality, all of a sudden there's judgment there. And so that's on us too as adults. Where did we flip it from where it's okay as a kid, but as you step in to become a free person, we then start judging or assuming. I love when you said, I've learned to take people's insults and flip them into compliments. That is so good. I think that's so hard to do, but it's so powerful when you do it.
Yes. Yes.
Can you share a little bit more how you do that? Like when someone insults you, does it take you a little while to feel it and then reach a point where you have the ability to flip it, or are you able to flip it right away? Like what's that process look like for you?
So it's becoming easier over time, but still, of course, like because like I'm a very feeling person, I have those like human emotions. It has become easier over time though. And yeah, I just think of like what the best thing is that they could have meant by it or something positive. Because I always want to take things, anything negative and like flip it into a positive as quickly as possible. So I can get back into like the state that I enjoy being in, which is joy and pleasure.
Joy and pleasure. Oh, that is a
Yes,
really good
yes,
state to be in.
yes.
I love that. And I love what you said, like, we're going to be misunderstood anyway. Like it is literally not possible, speaking from my experience, I know Carlene would back this up too. It is not possible to not be misunderstood. It's just human nature. People don't know you until they do. And so until they know you, they're going to assume things about you. They're going to judge things about you. And like it just is. So we can constantly live in fear of it and never fully step into our confidence, our self-expression, our power, our sensuality. Or we can decide, since I'm already being misunderstood, I might as well be me and be free while being misunderstood instead of being small and being afraid. It's going to happen either way. And I loved how you said too, Carlene, that it's gotten easier over time. So it's not like Carlene's like, I'm hot and nothing bothers me. It's like, we're still sensitive, right? There's still fear of being misunderstood, but it's gotten easier over time to be more confident in who you are and to be handled in moments when people do misunderstand you or insult you.
Yes, and then just coming back to that place where that it's okay, they can feel that way, they can view it that way. and I'm still going to choose me. I'm still going to choose me. I'm going to choose my truth, my freedom. At the end of the day, I'm going to choose me. And my hope, my wish, my dream is that in me choosing me, one day that'll give them the freedom to like fully choose them, regardless of what anybody else thinks about them.
Ooh, that was good. I choose me, and I hope at the end of the day it helps them choose them. Right.
Mhm.
And I say freedom is contagious. When you are in the presence of someone who is free, you can't help but it's a little bit of osmosis, like you said, you feel it a little bit. It's like, I I want to feel a little more free. Or when you're around someone who's confident in who they are, that confidence rubs off on you. Like there's something about when you're free, you really do help set others free without even trying to make them be free. And I think that's an important distinction, I think, in your work, Carlene. It's not like you're trying to convince people to go be hot and sexy and confident. You are hot, sexy, and confident. And that evokes like this inspiration, this permission, this liberation for other people to feel hot, sexy, and confident as well.
Yeah, totally. 1,000,000%.
I
And I
love
love complimenting people too. What I started doing that's really good, that's really helped with like sisterhood stuff that I had before, like sisterhood wounds or whatever, is I started always complimenting people. I would always call them beautiful. I'd be like, hi, beautiful goddess, like all the time. And then I realized that like the more that this is an affirmation I love and a belief that I hold, is that the more we tell another woman or another person or whatever that they're beautiful, the more beautiful we become, right? So that's been really, 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 really good too.
Oh, I love that. The more we tell others how beautiful they are, the more beautiful we become.
One time I messaged one of my friends and I'm like, hi, beautiful. And she's like, oh, I got a new phone, but I know this is Carlene. I'm like, well, how did you know it was me? And she's like, you are the only person who calls me beautiful. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, it just like, it, yeah. But I, that's just, yeah, I just like calling people beautiful and reminding them of who they are.
Okay, I freaking love that because when I started dating my partner, I had to tell him I actually needed him to call me beautiful, like on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And I actually think something he had to learn. So something I had to learn how to receive. I had to
Mm.
learn how to ask for what I wanted. That it matters to me that my partner finds me beautiful and communicates that to me. Not just knows it, communicates it. He had to learn that it was safe to be vocal about complimenting someone's physical looks. Because
Mm.
as a man, he had been trained. It is improper to compliment a woman on her looks. You're taking advantage of her. You are shallow. You make her feel unsafe, which is so interesting. Like he had to learn. He's like, I feel it. He's like, I feel so attracted to you, but like there's like a muzzle on his mouth where he was hesitant to say anything because of his entire life indoctrination of you're a gross predatory man if you compliment a woman on her beauty. And so we both had to learn how to drop our defenses and like make it safe for me to receive and for him to give. And so I would love for you to speak on that. Like, what would you tell a man who kind of is in a similar situation where he's been taught to be kind of afraid or hesitant to name beauty, to compliment beauty for fear of it makes him predatory, it makes him shallow, it makes him weird, it makes him gross, when he genuinely just wants to appreciate the beauty before him? What advice would you give him?
That's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that story. So my advice would just to be like really open with the person he's talking with and just like let them know how he feels, right? And explaining like the backstory on that and asking how they feel and like what they're open to. Because I feel like open communication could solve like almost every issue, right? Even issues that we don't even know could potentially be there. And that's a great reminder too, Nicole, because sometimes I'll have clients and they'll be like, well, I don't even know if he thinks that I'm beautiful because like, he doesn't compliment me a lot. And different people are different with words, right? But if we let people know from our heart, like this is like what I really love and everything, then we will get what it is that we desire. But can we have the courage to ask for what we desire? Because if we can, like anything is possible.
Yes, like when you said that your friend said to you, you're the only one who says hi, beautiful, like my heart hurt. I'm like, but how real is that? For how many women and men, how often men do you hear hi, handsome?
Like almost never.
Right? And how often do we as women hi, beautiful in a genuine way, not like in a catcally way, but like in a genuine way from people you love? How often are you called beautiful or pretty words? It's not very common. So I love that you said that because now it's a challenge for me in a good way, like to compliment my girlfriends more vocally, more intentionally, both physically, energetically. Because it made me sad when I made me think like, wow, to know that there's no one calling someone beautiful or handsome on a regular basis. Like everyone should feel amazing and feel desired and loved and attractive from not just your lover, even just like you said, like your girlfriend. I remember, I think clear communication could solve so many problems as well, Carlene. I remember one time I was at a coffee shop with my kiddos and there was an older gentleman there and he came up to me and he said, "May I pay you a compliment?" And I even loved his communication. He didn't just come up like, "You're hot," or "You're
Right.
beautiful," right? And he could even just come and said, "You're beautiful." That would have been fine. But the fact that he asked, like,
Mhm.
that was a class act. So if you are a gentleman, you're like, you see someone beautiful, you see something beautiful and you want to compliment, but you don't want to be a creep. That's been my personal favorite experience from a gentleman complimenting me was him asking, "May I pay you a compliment?" Because no one's going to say no. It's going to
Right.
say yes, but you are basically asking for consent. And I think that is a really beautiful demonstration of emotional maturity and emotional intelligence to know, like, maybe this woman is open to receiving compliments. Maybe she might feel accosted. We don't know because every woman is such a different place in life. But by you asking for consent, you just increased your chances exponentially for it to land the way you wanted it to land by
Mhm.
that question. So I would just like, I would say, don't not say something because you're right. Life is short. Not enough compliments, I think, happen in general. And then if you are nervous, you don't want to be seen as a creep. I think asking that question, "May I pay you a compliment?" is an amazing way to get consent and then say what you see.
Absolutely. And then because people actually do that with me a lot too. They'll ask that question or similar first. And I always feel so beautiful because then they actually take me like it connects us more, right? Because then there's that moment and that pause where everybody else is just like saying, all these like compliments and stuff where this person like they ask, so then they get a response from me, and then it's like more of like a connection. And actually I remember somebody doing this when I was in California just like last month. And then they're like, I was asking for a sign. They first said, the thing that you just said. And then they're like, and then I was asking for a sign and you're like an angel. And it was really, really a beautiful, beautiful moment. And I love that you and all of that. So thank you.
God, it made me think of something I was gonna say. Um, Crap, because what you're saying was so good. Oh, so the reason I also like that when they ask for consent like that, like, "May I pay you a compliment?" I think what that does, it makes me as a woman feel like you recognize that I'm an actual person. Because
Mhm.
what can happen, and this is just coming from me, and I'm sure you have your own experiences, Carlene, when someone only straight up compliments me with no other context with consent, sometimes I can feel a little objectified, where like you only see hotness, you don't see that I'm a human. And I like being known that I'm hot. Like I like being complimented, but sometimes I want them to realize like I'm more than that too. And I think when that older gentleman saw me with my children, he saw that I was also a mom, right? Like I'm not just this hot, pretty little thing. I'm also this. So when a man does that, where he asks for consent in that very beautiful way, to me, I feel like he sees all of me, that I have feelings, that I could be having a bad day right now. Maybe I'm not open for receiving anything from a stranger, or maybe because I'm not in a good spot, I want to receive, or I'm just very like, who knows? But I feel like the fullness of my humanity is kind of witnessed to in that moment versus this is just another pretty little thing walking by and I can say whatever I want.
Yes, I love that. That's so good. And then what else I love to do, just like for people in general, is I love to like find something about them that I love, right? So that's what my mind goes to. So it's not like just like, oh, just this call. Like it's like I take a moment, I assess them, I like feel like even if it's like their energy, right? And pick what I love very best about them, very the most, and then I'll like say that. And one of the greatest compliments that I ever got, and then I noticed that he does this a lot to people, and I thought it was so cool was he's like, you have the most beautiful heart. He's like, your heart is so beautiful, right? And it's like when everybody else is saying like you're beautiful, right? To compliment somebody on their beautiful heart, it was like it really stayed with me. I thought that was beautiful.
I love that. And I love that you said I intentionally try to look for what to say, because this, again, hotness isn't just about looks, it's an energy. And I love how your intention behind trying to find something specific to compliment someone on. Something that I talk about is like speaking it into existence. When I can name something I see in you or I feel in you and I compliment that about you, it fans it into life even more. And the more I see it and the more I compliment it, it grows and grows and grows. It becomes more and more into existence. And I love that intentionality of like, can I see and name and speak into existence this beautiful thing I see about a person? I love
Yeah.
that. Some comments, I choose me, I choose freedom, and they choose themselves. Wow. How do we say compliments more easier to others to overcome societal pressures about it? Man to man, man to woman, man to all people. Ooh, I'll have to see, I'll refresh the comments here, Austin, and see if what we just said answer that. Yes, regarding your partner talk, yes, I often feel hesitant. I'm trying to be quicker when it drops and I try to say that. Or I try to say it. I love that. Yes, there we go, Austin. May I pay you a compliment? That radical consent and radical honesty thing. Yeah, I thought of you right away, Austin. I had a girlfriend who, when I told her she was beautiful, she told me not to say that ever because it made her want to hide under the table. This was weeks after being intimate. She never said where that came from. Oh, Carlene, what would you say to a situation like that?
Well, I'm sorry that happened. And for somebody like that, I would ask like more about it at the right time, like with her. And then I would like, if it were me, I would say, I'm so sorry that I would apologize because I wouldn't know like where that came from. And then I would just in a safe space go deeper into them with them where that was like coming from if they wanted to share. And then also I would ask if there's like a certain kind of other compliment that maybe they would want to receive instead, or if all compliments were off limit, and just talk from a very like loving perspective, just like with our loving ears, open mind, open heart, and bringing the best of us to every conversation.
I freaking love that. So I loved when you shared, like, wait for a safe time to like have this vulnerable conversation of like trying to find out where that came from. And then I loved when you said, ask what she can receive compliments on, because maybe complimenting her looks is on level Z and she's at level C. So
Mm,
maybe, like, of course, we're ready to go to Z, but she's like, I can barely handle C. So
mm,
you can compliment her on A, B, C, and then maybe over time you eventually get to D, but it's a process. Like, as someone feels safer with you and they come home to themselves more and they're willing to have kind of these vulnerable conversations with you, this is huge. I'll share an experience like that, Sean, a trigger I had, TMI, but that's how Nicole rolls. In my marriage, the only time I was complimented on my beauty was during sex.
oh wow.
And it triggered me because I was never complimented on my looks outside the bedroom. So then I felt like I was only beautiful to him when he could use me, not for my existence, not for my being, not for my energy. And it's something we didn't talk about. So over time, I grew bitterness. And like, don't compliment me during that. Like, that's so easy to compliment me when I'm naked. But what about when I'm doing life and taking care of the kids and like I'm going on a date with you? Like, why would you not compliment me? So then when I started dating my current partner and he complimented me one time during sex, my whole body shut down. I was like, and I later brought it up and I explained to him, I was like, that feels cheap to me. It feels too easy to compliment me when I'm naked. Can you compliment me when I have clothes on? And he said, you know, that's so interesting. He goes, it's the opposite for me. He said, it's the hardest for me to compliment during sex because it's so vulnerable. There's nothing to hide under. And I saw it from his perspective where it was the most vulnerable to say to him in that moment. And it was the hardest for me to receive in that moment. And I had to work on, this is a new experience. This isn't my ex. This is a new person. And he doesn't only compliment me in the bedroom. Like, he's so good now where he compliments me all the time. And I had to be willing to see it from his perspective. Like, this is actually really hard for him to say this during this moment because it is so vulnerable and it is so intimate. And so now I've reached the point where I can receive compliments in the bedroom and outside the bedroom. But it took exactly like you said, Carlene, like this really honest, hard, vulnerable conversation when I felt safe to tell him my experience and he felt safe to tell his background. And it led to this whole other experience that has been really healing for both of us.
That is so beautiful. So beautiful. And I love it how like the open communication again, it like sorted so many things out. Where it's like, how do we know what a person's feeling or thinking unless we go there? And then also choosing the right time to have the conversation is so important.
So important. Let me catch up some comments because there are so many here. It's so good.
Awesome.
And some it's quoting you or quoting me. It says, can we have the courage to ask for what we desire? Oh, I love this. Carlene wrote, feeling like an awkward, aggravated middle schooler. I'm trying to find my beauty and accept when a man compliments me as genuine. Ooh, and then it's so funny. The next person said, I love when people say hi, beautiful. It recenters and grounds me. It keeps me in a higher vibration. So even there, it shows one woman has a hard time receiving it. And another woman is saying, it grounds me and it gives me a higher vibration. Carlene, do you have something you would say to Carlene, who said she feels like an awkward, aggravated middle schooler trying to find her beauty and accept when a man compliments her as genuine?
Yeah, so just I feel like there could be like layers to that. But I just accept people's compliments as genuine because I know that like I'm a genuine person. So I just assume that everyone is like telling the truth is like how I like to view it, especially when they're complimenting me. So just seeing like if there's any layers there of like how of like what is triggering about it, and then just like working through that and just being like maybe a little bit more receptive every time to their compliments, right? And just like working it little by little and just assuming that people are always telling you the truth when they're like complimenting you, that it comes from their heart. Because the thing I realize is with some people, they'll shut off their compliments and they'll think that like are other people's compliments and they'll think like everybody's lying to me, like they really don't feel that I'm like so and so. And then I feel like then people will compliment them less because it's like this universal energy. And the universe is like, okay, she doesn't want to be complimented, so let's bring the compliments somewhere else, right? So just how can I be a little bit more open to the compliments every day and like loving yourself through it too. So important.
I love that. Like the simple but radical concept of simply believing someone and like not making anything more, anything less. I think that's really hard to keep it pure. It's so much easier to make it something mean, make it mean more like, oh, he's just like a predator and he's being gross, creepy, or he doesn't mean that. He's just saying that because he feels like we immediately translate it into something else. But can we simply and purely receive the
Yeah.
compliments? So I freaking love that. And I think too, like, I think when we feel that way about ourselves, we feel beautiful, we feel sensual, we feel sexy, we feel confident, and someone compliments us on that, it's easier to receive it when we feel that way about ourselves. It's
Yeah.
harder to receive it if you don't feel that way. So I would say too, for you, Carlene, who asked, like, can you work on feeling beautiful? Can you work on feeling you are desirable? You are lovable. You are a catch. You are a prize. So when a man does compliment you, it makes sense. It's like, thank you, honey. I know. Appreciate that. I receive that. That's totally me. You are naming facts right now. This is true. Like not saying that out loud, but you feel that way inside. And not making it mean anything more, anything less. Doesn't mean he's trying to get in bed with you. Doesn't mean he feels bad for you. It's like he is simply reflecting back to you what you know to be true about you. I think
I
it's
love that.
harder said than done, but I think I loved what you said, Carlene, about keeping it like just receive it for what it is.
Yes. And for Carlene too, what she could do is do like a confidence journal where like every time someone gives you a compliment, you can write it down and then you'll see like how many like how often like magical things happen for you. And then it builds up. And even like if it's a compliment from the universe or a blessing from the universe, like free coffee or whatever, right? Like you can like, yeah, just all the blessings, all the everything from everywhere is beautiful.
I love that. Write it down. I think
Mhm.
that's such a great idea and like receive it as a gift from the universe. So if you're not able this, I love this. If you're not able to receive it from a man, can you for now receive it as a gift from the universe? And it's just coming through the man, it's not coming from the man.
Exactly.
That could be really healing for you. And then I love what you said, Carly, about writing it down. Write it down, and then that becomes your new affirmation.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
So
so
good.
good. There are so many comments. Okay, let me see if I can catch up with them. Um, This is such good new awareness to see the wounds from the male perspective. I freaking love that, because even my partner in his last relationship, he was taught not to compliment because she interpreted it as objectification. So when he started dating me, I could have interpreted his lack of compliments like, oh, how could you not? Like, I could have taken it personal, but I had to hear his story and hear his context and hear where he came from because we all are born from a context. There's reasons why we are the way we are. It's never random. it's very much often the result of our previous experiences. And so again, like what Carly and I were talking about earlier is like, can we lean in with curiosity instead of pulling back out of fear, judgment, anger, disappointment? So I love that you wrote that, Carlene. Wow, this is good awareness to see the wounds from the male perspective. Hello, Jobski Jones. I'm glad you're here. Sometimes men, me included, didn't know when and where to say compliments. Sex seems like a place to be vulnerable. Interesting, partner says the opposite. Yeah, it's crazy. Like, just like Carlene saying, like that open communication can change everything. Yes, Austin quoted it. Open communication just sorted everything out. Learning to receive and accept compliments has been interesting without immediately returning a compliment.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, do you want to say something about that, Carlene?
Yes, yes. Can you just receive the compliment, right? Because sometimes, like, as women, we're taught, like, oh, you're beautiful too, right? We have to like jump to it, but can we like sit back and like just like receive it and be like, thank you, and just like receive it?
I love this. This is a really good practice too, because I feel like when you pay someone compliment back, it looks like you're being genuine, but it's often a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
We
Totally.
cannot simply receive, so I have to throw something back and put the attention right back on you.
Yeah.
Can you keep the attention on you? Can you receive the good? And can you be genuine? Like, and I've started saying something this year. I've literally been saying, I receive that, because it makes me slow down, because my knee-jerk reaction is again to throw the spotlight back on them. But when I say I receive that, it actually makes me pause to receive it. And it is a way to say thank you to them. Like, that impacted me so much that I actually have to say, I receive that. Thank you. And then I love this idea of like not responding to compliment with a compliment right away, because it feels way more genuine, like whether it's in the same conversation or a whole different conversation, when you compliment them, because it's not a knee-jerk reaction, it's a chosen response.
Totally. Yeah.
So
1,000,000%. I agree.
this evokes playfulness and ease in my life. I love that. Confidence journal. I love that. Austin loves that. Blessing from the universe. I love that. Great idea. Selena wrote, I feel like when I would get compliments on my looks, especially by men, my reaction was usually to roll my eyes and assume that he must want something. Luckily, I do have male friends that will give compliments that feel genuine. Oh, I think we can all relate to that, where it's like we just assume, again, assuming instead of simply receiving. Confidence journal, I like that, like an abundance journal. Defense mechanism, yes, I receive that. Oh, this is so good. This
So
is so
good.
good. So, my question to you is, when someone learns to receive purely, when someone learns to give purely, when, like, I feel like this is unlocking hot magic, like hot guy magic, hot girl magic. What impact can that have on someone's life? Like, when, with all the clients you've worked with, Carlene, what are the results you've seen from people who've tapped into this ability to like have hot energy, be receptive, be giving in a very pure way?
Yes. So you can like literally magnetize like and get or like attract whatever it is that you desire. And the cool thing is that we all kind of desire something different-ish, like some sort of way about it. And so like if someone desires like to be married, then they'll like one of my clients, he actually married a virgin, right? Like after like a couple, like it was just like amazing. And then like because that's like what he desired, right? And for another client, they wanted to be in the best relationship of their life. So they got that. Another client, she wanted her husband to buy her a car, so he bought her a car. I know like there's just like so many things, like we get to have whatever we want. And for myself, I desired like a multiple six-figure lifestyle, working like as little as possible. And then that's what I manifested, right? Flowers every week. So like you can like literally have whatever it is that you desire when you tap into this energy and just decide to turn it all the way up. Have anything you want.
I love that. You can have anything you want when you turn it all the way up. And I think that's what I love about you so much, Carlene, is you give people permission to turn it all the way up. You're not doing cute girl energy. This is what I love. It's not like how to be cute, how to be socially acceptable. You're like hot girl energy, hot girl magic. Let's raise the standard. Let's be all that we are. Like, I love that, because we're all on the spectrum from like totally shy, like repressed, closed off, to like wildly open and wildly free. Everyone's along a different part of the spectrum. And I feel like you're over here, and you can help anyone along the spectrum, whether they're brand new to the concept of receiving or they're like so close to being free. Like, I just love that you own it. And you're like, when you come into my world, we unleash your hotness. we unleash your magic, we unleash your magnetism. Like, I just feel like more people deserve that, to live that way and to feel that way and to be that way.
I believe everybody deserves it, that desires it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so good. Um, okay, now, ooh, this is great question for you, Carlene. Now, my next thing is making time for male attention with work, self-care, childcare. What are some things to do to make dating feel not too overwhelming?
Just to put it like in your everyday life, right? Just to like let it be fun and let it be easy and like let it be playful. I also like to like let men take care of me and provide for me. So say that like I needed like my Tesla washed or something, instead of like going to a car wash and like paying for it because I have like a special ceramic thing, I would have a guy like meet me somewhere and hand wash it, right? So like how can you allow others to give to you, because like males, they want to give, but especially as like independent women, we're like we can do it all on our own. And even my nail lady today, I got a pedicure, and she's like, yeah, she's like, I met this guy, he has a Rolls Royce, he lives like in the nicest car. She's like, and he wants to give me everything, but like, you know, I'm independent and I just want to do it all. I'm like, girl, no, 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 because if you do that, like he's eventually going to want to give that to somebody else. And he even had the conversation with her where he's like, I want to give to you, this is me as a man, like I want to do this, please don't like push me away, right? So how much can we just step into like just like those little pockets of time, right? We're just like letting it be playful and fun, letting dating be playful and fun, and just like allowing for the magic just to happen for us, and for it just to be fun.
I love that idea of what you said, like make it an everyday thing. So what I love about that, it takes the pressure off of like, I have to set aside a whole night of the week for a date, and it becomes so big. And when you are a single mom and you are working hard and like you have long days, to give up an entire evening is actually really hard. And it can be so overwhelming that you just shut it down completely. And what you just said gave permission of like, what came to my mind when you were talking is like, can you just be open to flirting every day? Like, a little flirt here, a little flirt there. It doesn't have to go anywhere beyond that because you're a busy fucking woman and you've got things to do and you've got a kiddo to take care of. Doesn't mean you're closed off to flirting. Doesn't mean you're closed off to some attention. Doesn't mean you're closed off to compliments. Doesn't mean you're closed off to receiving. It's just like, instead of making it like this pressure of like, I got to get dating apps and I've got to like making it something separate, can I make it part of my everyday life where I'm just open to, instead of thinking I have to go on an app and find someone, like a man walks in at my company, or I go to the restaurant with my son and there's someone there and there's a vibe there. Like, what would it look like for it to become part of your everyday life in little ways? Because
Yeah.
that's going to set you up for like the big ways. If you do want a night off or if you want a weekend getaway, it's going to start with these little everyday ways, like you suggested.
Absolutely. And then what else I want to say about that too is, so my dates normally are just like an hour or two. So I don't make them like a whole evening thing because I am a single mom and I do have my son full time. So for me, just like an hour or two is like the perfect amount of time for me. So not like overthinking it and thinking it has to be this big, huge thing. And then also what Nicole said is so good. So I met one of my girls from the Hot Girl Challenge, a client, right? And I'm like, let's go to the Ritz. We met for like well, I didn't drink, but I just had water and she had whatever. And we met this guy there and he's like, oh, do you guys want to go to this other place? And then we're like, okay. So we went and he's like, I'm gonna get the car. He got a Rolls Royce. A Rolls Royce came and drove us to the other place, right? Within an hour, he had bought us first class tickets to Vegas, right? Like, oh my God. And then I told him, I'm like, because I don't drink a lot, but I'm like, I'm not drinking tonight because I'm gonna drive. And he's like, don't worry about it. I'll get you and your friend a room at the Ritz. You guys have your own room. $900 room, right? Like just like no biggie. So within like just the magic, right? And I remember driving up there that night. And I'm like, just like saying a prayer, universe, like show me how much magic I can as possible, right? And just like that, like with my client there, and then we manifested that. It can happen like literally so fast if we're just like open to it. And if we're just playful with it. And like, wouldn't it be cool if this happened? Because when I was driving up, I'm like, wouldn't it be cool to like stay at the Ritz tonight? I'm like, I wonder how much it is. I just thought like, but then I'm like, wouldn't it be even cooler if I could manifest somebody getting us our room? And then there it happened. And at the perfect time too, because that my son was on vacation visiting my dad, his grandpa in Alaska then. So it was like the perfect time. And then the Vegas was like the next week. He got us the tickets. Freaking magical, 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 magical.
I love that story so much. Now I'm like, I'm going to the Ritz tonight. I want to tap into this magic. I freaking love this. Okay, the chat is blowing up. Let me read some of this. This is so good. I love this. If you turn it into hot girl magic all the way up, you can have whatever you want. Ha ha ha, receive the stuff. Please don't push me away. Hello, Hassan. I'm so glad you're here. As a guy who knows how to wash cars, if someone told me I did an amazing job and there were no water spots, etc., I would step into that hot energy immediately. Oh, I love that. Universe, show me as much magic as possible. It can happen so fast if we are open to it and playing with it. Ah, so good. Hi, Colleen. I'm so glad you're here. I love that so much. So it's like it's in your, again, you were doing your thing. It wasn't like you went out and like, let me try to make something happen. It's like, I'm going with my client. We're going to have a great girls' night. I'm open to as much magic as possible universe, and boom, 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 boom. Like everything came together. So I love that advice for Carlene, who asked in the Facebook group about just like tuning into everyday ways, trusting the magic always finds you where you are. And we put no cap on what can happen. Anything can happen.
Yes.
So good. This is, I cannot believe how fast this has gone. Like this, I'm loving all the questions. I'm loving all the engagement. It's been over an hour though, so we're kind of at our end of time here. So Carlene, do you have any last thing you'd like to say? And then if so, please share that. And then can you share the best way for people to contact you in case they want to work with you, like what you have to offer for people if they want more from you?
Awesome. Well, I wanted to say like with so much gratitude in my heart, thank you all for being here. I like love all of you so much. And I just want to remind you that you are all magic. We are all magic. And we just decide, just like you make the decision today that I'm fully gonna own and step into my magic, like 100%. And then that's what will happen for you. And then as far as to find me, like my main place is Facebook. So you can send me a friend request there. I also have a private Facebook community called Sexy Success. I don't even know how it happened. It had to be some sort of magic because I checked the friend record I checked the notifications the other day of how many requests were there. There were like 726. Like I'm like, how does that even happen? My group only has like 500 something. So it like doubled, right? Plus whatever. So I'm just like, whoa. So again, magic, right? How does that happen? Magic. So yeah, so right now I'm doing the Hot Girl Challenge is coming up, and it's 11 days of stepping into your sexiest, hottest self, sexiest, hottest, freshest self. And the results that people have gotten that program are absolutely amazing. So if you want more details on that, you can send me a message. This is actually my 4th round of doing it. I noticed for myself, like whenever I do it, I did it with that, like my client and I, a group of other people, and then that Ritz thing happened. And then I did it again, and then I went to Dr. Joe Dispenza event, and I got upgraded to like the main suite, whatever it's called. What is it? The penthouse suite, right? Like what? Like, and they were treating me like a celebrity, and it was just like pure magic. So I cannot even wait to see what happens. So if you are ready to step into your hottest, sexiest self, like, and really like just have the most magical experience of that and have tools to take with you for the rest of your life, I highly recommend you join us. You can send me a message to learn more about that. And then I have private coaching too and all the things.
Oh, so good. So Hot Girl Challenge is coming up. She does private coaching. She access her on her Facebook page. Carlene, this was so good. Thank you so much for helping women step into their magnetism, their magic, their hotness. Thank you for helping men do the same thing too. Like I feel like what you do is you really cultivate safe spaces for both genders to practice receiving, practice giving, practice owning more of who they are, practice bringing that to the table in more ways. And I just think that creates so much magic in everyone's lives. And it's because you're willing to go first and help people in that way. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. This was such a good session. Thank you.
It was so fun. Thank you. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, love this, you guys. I cannot believe how good these sessions were. This was our final speaker of our fall extravaganza. There were 7 of us. On Monday, though, Monday, November 27th, we are hosting a bonus session. We're giving away prizes. We're going to share some incredible things with you. So if you have not put that on your calendar yet, please put it down. Monday the 27th. It's either going to be at 12 o'clock or 1 p.m. PST. We're finalizing time right now. It's going to be so good. Between now and Monday, watch the replays. see who you vibe with, start to like write down notes, see what your takeaways are. And then please join us on Monday, November 27th for our giveaway. We have so many prizes to give away. We just want to give. It's the season. That's just the heart of everyone in this group. And if you love the speakers in this group, there's actually an opportunity to be in community with all of us. We have a very sacred membership of all these people who spoke. We get to do life together. We meet on a weekly basis together. There's so much there. So that is something you're interested in. Feel free to DM me. I'll give you more information. Otherwise, till then, join us on Monday. I love you. This was amazing. Thank you, Carlene. Thank you, everyone. And we'll see you guys online.
Bye. Thank you.